The hunt ends before it begins. A massive reptile stands motionless in the heat, its body barely registering as alive, its heartbeat slow, its metabolism deliberately restrained. There is no chase, no burst of speed, no display of dominance, only patience stretched to its biological limits. This is not laziness, it is constraint. On islands, energy is a currency more valuable than strength, and every movement must justify its cost. The predator is not choosing stillness, it is being forced into it. The Komodo dragon is often framed as a monster, an apex predator built for dominance. But that narrative collapses under scrutiny. Its lethality is not a product of evolutionary excellence. It is the result of confinement. Isolated on scattered Indonesian islands, its ancestors faced a brutal equation: limited prey, no migration routes, and no possibility of escape when conditions worsened. Over generations, this pressure did not refine them into perfect hunters. It stripped them down and rebuilt them into something slower, more patient, and far more dependent on a single successful strategy. Their bite, once believed to rely purely on bacteria, is now understood as a venom-assisted system that lowers blood pressure and accelerates shock. But even that is not an advantage born from abundance. It is a workaround. When you cannot chase, you must ensure that one bite is enough. This is the first rule of the island. Evolution does not reward the strongest. It rewards whatever works under constraint, and constraint rewires everything. On the mainland, failure is survivable. A predator misses a hunt. It moves. A drought arrives. It migrates. A rival dominates. It relocates. Movement is insurance. But here, movement is gone. The island is a closed system, a biological cage surrounded by water that functions less like a barrier and more like a permanent sentence. There is no second territory, no fallback ecosystem. Every organism exists inside a loop where mistakes are not corrected, they are inherited. That loop compresses evolution. Genetic diversity shrinks as populations become isolated, creating what biologists define as a bottleneck. But the term barely captures the reality. With fewer genetic variations available, natural selection has less material to refine. Traits that would normally be eliminated, inefficiencies, odd behaviors, unstable adaptations, are not filtered out, they persist. And under the right pressure, they spread. Nowhere is this distortion clearer than in the fossa. At first glance, it resembles a cat. Sleek body, forward-facing eyes, flexible spine built for pursuit. But this resemblance is an illusion. The fossa is not a feline. It belongs to a lineage more closely related to mongooses. Yet isolation on Madagascar forced it into a role that required the mechanics of an entirely different predator. It did not evolve by improving what it already was. It evolved by improvising. Its semi-retractable claws, elongated body, and hyper-flexible ankles allow it to chase prey through the trees with a fluidity that mimics primates. This is not refinement. It is convergence under pressure, a biological impersonation driven by necessity. And here, the system reveals its second rule. Specialization is not strength, it is dependence. The fossa dominates its environment, not because it is universally superior, but because it fits a very narrow ecological niche with extreme precision. Its primary prey, lemurs, are themselves products of isolation, lacking the defensive strategies seen in mainland primates. The predator-prey dynamic becomes a closed feedback loop, where both sides evolve in response to each other and nothing else. There are no external competitors to disrupt the balance, no new predators to challenge the hierarchy. It is a system that appears stable, but only because nothing new is allowed in. That stability is an illusion. The pressure of isolation does not only reshape predators, it rewrites entire evolutionary paths. The marine iguana is a contradiction that should not exist. A land reptile forced into the ocean, feeding on algae, diving into cold water despite a physiology built for warmth. This is not adaptation in the traditional sense. It is desperation encoded into biology. With limited terrestrial resources, its ancestors faced a choice that was not a choice at all: exploit the ocean or vanish. Over time, their bodies shifted: flattened tails for propulsion, dense bones to reduce buoyancy, specialized glands to expel excess salt. But every one of these traits carries a cost. Cold water slows their metabolism, forcing them into cycles of feeding and recovery that leave them vulnerable. They are not optimized. They are stretched to the edge of what is possible. This is where the narrative flips. The island does not produce apex forms. It produces extremes that only function under exact conditions. Every adaptation is a trade-off. Every specialization a narrowing of possibilities. The more perfectly an organism fits its environment, the less capable it becomes of surviving outside it. The island fox demonstrates the final stage of this process. Unlike the Komodo dragon or the fossa, it is not a hyper-specialized hunter. It is a reduction. Smaller body, simplified behavior, fewer defenses. On islands with no large predators, the pressure to maintain complex survival strategies disappears. Over generations, traits that once ensured survival become unnecessary and are gradually lost. Vigilance declines, aggression softens. Even brain size can reduce when environmental challenges diminish. At first, this seems like an advantage. Energy conserved, efficiency increased. But it is a fragile equilibrium. The system works only as long as nothing changes, and change, when it arrives, is catastrophic. This is the final rule of the genetic prison. The same isolation that accelerates adaptation also removes resilience. Mainland ecosystems are chaotic, filled with overlapping pressures that create redundancy. If one strategy fails, another might succeed. On islands, there is no redundancy. There is only the system as it exists. When a new predator is introduced, when disease enters, when climate shifts, there are no alternative pathways. The organism cannot pivot. It cannot migrate. It cannot relearn behaviors that evolution has erased. It collapses. What appears, at a distance, as a paradise of unique and exotic life is, in reality, a collection of biological specialists balanced on a knife edge. Every predator here is powerful within its niche and helpless outside it. Every adaptation is both a solution and a liability. The island does not reward versatility, it punishes it. And that is the contradiction at the heart of this ecosystem. These creatures did not evolve to dominate the world. They evolved because they were denied it. Trapped in isolation, stripped of options, forced into extremes, they became masters of a single environment, an environment that will never forgive them if it changes. The kill is already decided long before the victim understands the rules. A deer moves through dry island scrub with the nervous rhythm of an animal that still believes danger must announce itself through motion, noise, or pursuit. But the ground here has stopped playing by mainland rules. Nothing charges, nothing warns. Under the thorn shade and volcanic dust, power has gone still. A massive reptile lies low, with the patience of a trap that learned how to breathe. Its muscles cold, its hunger economical, its entire body designed not for speed, but for inevitability. This is the first lie of island gigantism. Giants do not become rulers because they are the most dynamic creatures in the system. They become rulers because the system stops demanding efficiency and starts rewarding anything that can dominate without being challenged. On islands, size is not always a sign of perfection. Sometimes it is what happens when evolution is left unsupervised. The Komodo dragon is the purest expression of that imbalance. It is often described as a relic, a prehistoric leftover, a living dragon that somehow escaped extinction and kept the old violence of the reptile world intact. But its true story is not about survival from the deep past. It is about what happens when a predator is allowed to become enormous in a place that offers no meaningful competitor. On the mainland, large predators are constantly forced into trade-offs. They must outrun something, outfight something, outmaneuver something, or coexist with rivals that punish waste and overreach. On these islands, that pressure narrows. The Komodo dragon does not need to be elegant. It does not need pursuit endurance like a wolf or explosive acceleration like a cat. It needs only to convert mass into authority and conserve enough energy to keep doing it. Its body is thick, low, and brutally efficient in short bursts. But the real sophistication is hidden in what looks like laziness. This animal is not slow because it failed to become fast. It is slow because on an island, patience is often more profitable than movement. That patience becomes lethal the moment the dragon commits. Its bite is not merely mechanical damage, it is the opening move in a slower biological collapse. The animal's jaws deliver deep, tearing wounds, and those wounds are amplified by venom compounds that accelerate shock, blood loss, and systemic weakness. For years, people simplified the story into a myth of dirty mouths and infectious saliva, as if the dragon won through accidental filth. But that version misses the darker truth. This predator is built for delayed certainty. It does not always need to drag prey down immediately because the island has shaped it into something closer to a biochemical stalker. A bitten deer may run, but that escape is often temporary. The dragon follows with a metabolism disciplined enough to wait out panic, blood pressure failure, and mounting exhaustion. This is gigantism, stripped of fantasy. The giant does not overpower everything at once. It can afford to wound, track, and let the victim die on the schedule of the predator, rather than the strength of the prey. That is the reversal at the heart of the Komodo dragon's power. It looks like a brutal heavyweight, a raw force animal built to overwhelm by sheer size. Yet its true dominance comes from restraint. The island has not created a perfect killing machine. It has created an overbuilt ambush specialist whose success depends on the absence of rivals and the predictability of prey. It works because the ecosystem lets it work. That distinction matters. A king on an island is not necessarily the best predator nature could design. More often, it is what remains when competition disappears and evolution stops asking hard questions. The same logic lurks in the forest floor and swamp edge, where the reticulated python turns the undergrowth into a tightening equation. If the Komodo dragon represents giant power through biochemical attrition, the python represents giant power through silence and compression. Nothing about its body suggests haste. It does not advertise predation through claws, venom fangs, or visible aggression. It hides its violence in architecture. Muscle coils, heat-sensitive pits, recurved teeth, and a nervous system tuned to strike with shocking precision allow it to transform cluttered island environments into ideal killing grounds. In thick vegetation, beside trails, near water crossings, any narrow space becomes a funnel where movement itself becomes a trap. The prey is not chased into failure. It is simply allowed to arrive at the wrong coordinates. Island ecosystems amplify this strategy because they often contain prey that has evolved with fewer large terrestrial ambush predators than mainland systems. Naivety here is not stupidity, it is an ecological inheritance. Animals make risk calculations based on the long memory of predation, and islands distort that memory. When few large hunters patrol the landscape, vigilance can relax, behavior softens, caution becomes less absolute. A giant constrictor entering such a system does not merely hunt bodies, it hunts assumptions. The python's size is terrifying, but size alone is not the story. The story is that the island lets a giant ambush predator operate in an environment where prey often does not read danger fast enough. That delay, sometimes measured in a heartbeat, is all a constrictor needs. Yet even here, the chapter must not fall into the lazy trap of worshipping size. Gigantism on islands is often sold as proof of superiority, as though these animals have reached some higher throne of evolutionary success. That is nonsense. The giant body is powerful, but it is also expensive. Every kilogram demands food, thermoregulation, recovery time, and environmental stability. A massive python is a masterpiece only while the prey base holds, while habitat remains intact, while temperatures allow the metabolism to function within its narrow, profitable range. The larger the predator becomes, the more the ecosystem must keep paying for it. That is the second lie of island gigantism. Giant animals look invincible, but they are often balanced on a thinner wire than smaller generalists. Their grandeur hides dependence, which is exactly why the coconut crab belongs in this chapter. Without it, the structure becomes too predictable. Reptile, giant predator, safe, boring. The coconut crab breaks that pattern and shocks the viewer awake because it looks less like an animal shaped by normal ecology and more like a biological prank that got out of control. It is the largest land arthropod on Earth, a creature that seems assembled from spare parts stolen from several different nightmares. It climbs, it tears, it crushes. It raids with the opportunism of a scavenger, but the physical authority of its claws pushes it beyond the harmless image many people attach to crabs. On an island where dead matter, fallen fruit, eggs, hatchlings, and vulnerable animals can represent huge nutritional opportunities, a large clawed omnivore becomes more than cleanup crew. It becomes a force. Its strength is not theatrical, it is practical and deeply unsettling. The crushing power of the claws is not there for show. It is a tool for opening a world of hard-shelled, armored, or otherwise protected food sources that smaller scavengers cannot exploit. That includes coconuts, carrion, and any biological material unfortunate enough to be manageable once seized. This is gigantism from a completely different angle. The coconut crab is not dominating through pursuit or venom or constriction. It dominates through access. It opens resources other animals cannot open. It reaches places other heavy creatures cannot reach by climbing. It lives in a strange zone between scavenger, opportunist, and predator, and that ambiguity is what makes it so effective. On islands, the line between hunter and scavenger often dissolves because limited resources reward whatever behavior works. A giant arthropod with industrial-grade claws is not an evolutionary joke. It is what happens when an ecosystem lacks enough rivals to keep weird power in check. And again, the reversal arrives at exactly the right moment. The coconut crab feels like the comic relief monster of the chapter, the bizarre side character thrown in for curiosity, until the viewer realizes it represents the most honest truth about island gigantism. These giants are not kings in a grand, noble sense. They are products of ecological slack. They become huge because the system leaves doors open. No larger predator closes them. No dense web of competitors corrects them. No backup plan is needed until suddenly it is. That is where the chapter's deeper tension lives. Giants on islands are not efficient masterpieces built for a world of endless stress testing. They are oversized solutions to narrow local problems. The Komodo dragon works because it can ambush, wound, and wait in a landscape with limited rivals. The reticulated python works because cluttered environments and prey behavior allow a giant constrictor to turn stillness into execution. The coconut crab works because island economies reward brute access to resources and punish no one for becoming outrageously strong in one specific way. But each of these forms carries the same hidden weakness. They are not built for disruption. A mainland comparison makes that truth even harder. Consider the Parentier monitor of Australia, another giant lizard, formidable in its own right, but shaped by a harsher and more competitive field of ecological demands. Mainland predators do not get to relax into one dominant script for long. They face shifting prey communities, broader territories, more rival species, and a larger web of consequences for over-specialization. The island giant, by contrast, can become exaggerated, almost arrogant in its design, because the environment keeps forgiving its narrowness. The moment that forgiveness ends, the illusion of mastery goes with it, and that is the final turn this chapter must land. These animals are not symbols of perfect evolution. They are warnings about what happens when power grows in isolation. Their size impresses because it feels absolute, but it is conditional. Their dominance is real, but local. Their bodies look like final answers, yet they are often one ecological shock away from exposure. Bring in habitat loss, invasive species, human disturbance, or a change in prey dynamics, and the giant suddenly looks less like a ruler and more like a specialist that forgot how fragile its throne really was. So the undergrowth does not hide kings, it hides oversized survivors in a system that stopped asking them to compete fairly. They crush, constrict, poison, and wait not because evolution crowned them as the best of all possible predators, but because on these islands, there was no one else around to say no. The kill happens so fast, it barely registers as an event. A flicker of motion crosses the ground, a shift in air pressure, a shadow that arrives without warning, and then nothing. No struggle, no drawn-out chase, no visible contest of strength, just disappearance. In island ecosystems, the most dangerous predators are often the ones that leave the least evidence behind, not because they are weak, but because they have removed everything unnecessary from the act of survival. Where giants rely on presence, these hunters rely on precision. Where large predators can afford to fail and try again, these cannot. Every movement is calibrated against energy, risk, and opportunity. They do not dominate through power, they dominate through consistency. The island fox is not an apex predator in the traditional sense. It does not tower over its environment or control it through fear. It survives by refusing to specialize too much in any one direction. On islands where resources fluctuate unpredictably, where a sudden drop in prey or seasonal shift can collapse a narrow food strategy, flexibility becomes more valuable than dominance. This fox eats insects, fruits, small vertebrates, carrion, anything that can be converted into energy without excessive cost. That generalist behavior is not a sign of weakness. It is a deliberate evolutionary position shaped by scarcity. The smaller body reduces metabolic demand, allowing the animal to survive on less, while maintaining enough agility to exploit multiple food sources. Reproduction accelerates because smaller organisms can reach maturity faster, compressing generational turnover and allowing adaptation to occur more rapidly within the limited gene pool of an island population. But the real shift happens at the behavioral level. The island fox does not hunt with the expectation of large rewards. It hunts continuously, turning survival into a series of small, repeatable successes rather than rare, high-risk events. This is the inversion of the giant predator strategy. A Komodo dragon can afford to wait for a large kill that may not happen every day. The island fox cannot. Its survival depends on a steady intake of energy, which means it must succeed repeatedly with minimal error. Over time, this produces a predator that is not overwhelming, but relentless in a quieter, more insidious way. It does not need to dominate the ecosystem. It simply needs to never stop working within it. Then the system breaks. The arrival of the feral cat introduces a predator that does not belong to the island's evolutionary logic. Unlike native species, which have been shaped by the constraints of limited resources and ecological balance, the feral cat carries behavioral traits refined in far more competitive and complex mainland environments. Its hunting strategy is not optimized for scarcity. It is optimized for opportunity. This creates a phenomenon known as surplus killing, where the predator continues to hunt and kill even after its immediate energy needs are met. On the mainland, this behavior is moderated by competition, risk, and environmental feedback. On islands, those controls often do not exist. The result is not simply predation, it is system-level disruption. Birds that evolved without mammalian predators fail to recognize the threat until it is too late. Reptiles that rely on camouflage or limited escape responses find themselves facing an opponent that hunts through persistence and pattern recognition rather than brute force. The feral cat does not need to dominate physically, it dominates statistically. It hunts more often, succeeds frequently enough, and operates without the ecological breaks that would normally keep its behavior in check. In a closed island system where populations are small and genetic diversity is limited, this pressure compounds rapidly. Species do not decline gradually, they collapse. This is the narrative reversal that defines the mini-killers. The smallest predators are not constrained by their size, they are amplified by it. The small Indian mongoose represents this amplification in its most aggressive form, introduced intentionally in many island systems to control pests. It quickly becomes the dominant problem itself. Its body is built for speed and flexibility, its nervous system tuned for rapid reaction, and its behavior driven by constant exploration of its environment. Unlike larger predators that must conserve energy and carefully select when to engage, the mongoose can afford to investigate, pursue, and attack repeatedly throughout the day. This creates a constant pressure on native species that are not adapted to such relentless harassment. The mongoose does not simply hunt individuals, it disrupts entire reproductive cycles. Ground nesting birds lose eggs before they hatch. Small vertebrates are targeted before they reach maturity. Even species that might survive occasional predation cannot withstand continuous interference at every stage of life. This is where the efficiency of small predators becomes devastating. They do not need to win spectacularly. They only need to apply pressure consistently until the system breaks. And again, the island reveals its weakness. Native predators, like the island fox, operate within the limits of the ecosystem, taking what they need and leaving enough for the system to recover. The mongoose does not recognize those limits because it evolved elsewhere. It behaves as if the system is infinite, and on an island, that assumption is fatal. Above this chaos, another hunter operates on a completely different axis. The barn owl does not rely on speed across the ground or brute force at close range. It hunts through physics. Its wings are structured to break up air turbulence, allowing it to fly in near silence, eliminating the auditory warning that most prey species depend on for survival. Its facial disc acts as a sound collector, channeling even the faintest noises toward asymmetrically placed ears that can triangulate position with extreme precision. In the darkness, where visual systems fail, the barn owl replaces sight with acoustic mapping. This creates a predator that exists almost outside the normal sensory rules of the ecosystem. Prey that might evade a terrestrial hunter through camouflage or stillness cannot hide from sound. The owl does not need to search blindly. It listens, calculates, and strikes with a level of accuracy that feels disproportionate to its size. Again, the pattern repeats. Small body, low energy cost, high efficiency. The owl does not waste movement. It converts information directly into action. But the final twist of the chapter lies in how these mini-killers interact with the fragile systems around them. Unlike giant predators, which can destabilize an ecosystem through overconsumption if conditions shift, small predators destabilize through accumulation. Each individual kill may seem insignificant, but the frequency, consistency, and coverage of their hunting create a pressure that spreads across the entire ecological network. They do not remove large chunks of biomass at once. They erode the system continuously, targeting eggs, juveniles, and small adults, weakening populations before they have a chance to recover. This is why they are often more dangerous in island ecosystems than their larger counterparts. A giant predator can be visible, predictable, even avoidable to some degree. A small predator is everywhere, operating at all times, exploiting every available opportunity. It does not need to dominate the system, it simply needs to outlast it. And that is the final reversal. Size does not determine power here, limitation does. The smaller the predator, the less room it has for failure, and the more precisely it must operate. Over time, that precision becomes more destructive than brute force. The giants survive because they can afford to dominate occasionally. The mini-killers survive because they cannot afford to fail even once. On an island, that difference decides everything. The collapse begins invisibly, long before the first body appears. A clutch of eggs lies hidden beneath sand and leaf litter, perfectly placed according to instincts refined over generations, positioned at a depth where temperature regulates development and camouflage masks their presence from anything that hunts by sight. The strategy is precise, efficient, and historically reliable. It has worked for centuries in a system that rarely introduced new variables. But something has changed in the equation. The scent of the nest does not dissipate the way it used to. It travels, lingers, and is intercepted by a nervous system that evolved somewhere else entirely. One tuned not to this island's rules, but to a far harsher and more competitive world. Within minutes, the nest is exposed, the eggs shattered, and the entire reproductive effort of a season erased before it even begins. There is no dramatic struggle, no visible predator-prey contest, just absence. This is how extinction starts on islands, not with battles, but with quiet, repeatable failures that accumulate faster than life can replace them. The black rat does not look like a system-ending force. It is small, fast, and easily overlooked, but that is precisely why it succeeds. On islands, where many species evolved without mammalian egg predators, defensive strategies often rely on concealment rather than active protection. Nests are hidden, not guarded. Eggs are camouflaged, not defended. Against native threats, this works. Against an animal that hunts by scent, climbs with ease, reproduces rapidly, and feeds opportunistically across multiple trophic levels, it fails instantly. The rat does not need to dominate the ecosystem. It only needs to interfere with reproduction consistently. Each destroyed clutch represents not just a lost generation, but a narrowing of an already limited gene pool. Over time, the effect compounds. Fewer offspring survive, genetic diversity shrinks, and the system begins to lose its ability to recover from even minor disturbances. This is the first fracture in the illusion of island perfection. The adaptations that once ensured survival are not universally strong. They are context-dependent. Remove the context, and the adaptation becomes a liability. The feral cat accelerates that fracture into collapse. Unlike the rat, which disrupts reproduction, the cat removes individuals directly from the population at a rate the system was never designed to withstand. Ground-nesting birds, reptiles, and small mammals face a predator that combines stealth, persistence, and a capacity for surplus killing. This behavior, where animals are killed without immediate consumption, is not a flaw. It is an extension of a hunting system, developed in environments where competition demands constant opportunity capture. On islands, where prey often lacks the instinctive fear of such predators, this becomes catastrophic. The cat does not simply hunt to survive. It hunts because it can, and the ecosystem offers no resistance strong enough to regulate that behavior. Here, the narrative reverses sharply. The small predator that once represented efficiency within a system becomes an invasive force that exploits every weakness of that same system. Native species do not adapt quickly enough because their evolutionary history contains no blueprint for this kind of threat. They continue to behave as if the old rules apply, and each interaction reinforces the mismatch. Over time, entire populations vanish, not because they are inherently weak, but because they are operating on outdated assumptions in a rapidly changing environment. The collapse does not stop with predators. It extends through the entire ecological network, reaching species like the Galapagos penguin, which reveals how fragile the system truly is. This penguin survives in a narrow climatic window, dependent on cold ocean currents that bring nutrient-rich waters to otherwise inhospitable equatorial regions. Its existence is already a biological compromise, a species operating at the edge of what its physiology can tolerate. When ocean temperatures rise, even slightly, prey availability drops. When food becomes scarce, breeding success declines. When breeding fails, population recovery slows. Layer on predation from introduced species, and the system begins to collapse from multiple directions at once. This is where the illusion of control dissolves completely. The island is not a stable environment. It is a tightly balanced system where every component is interdependent. Remove one element, and the effects ripple outward. Introduce a new one, and the balance does not adjust. It breaks. Even the apex predator is not immune. The Komodo dragon, once the uncontested ruler of its limited domain, now exists under pressures it was never designed to handle. Habitat fragmentation reduces the available territory, forcing individuals into closer proximity and increasing competition within a system that previously allowed for spatial separation. Human activity introduces new risks: direct conflict, environmental degradation, and changes in prey distribution. Climate shifts alter the delicate balance of temperature and resource availability that underpins the dragon's entire metabolic strategy. This is the final and most important reversal of the chapter. The apex predator, the symbol of dominance and control, is revealed to be one of the most vulnerable components of the system. Its specialization, once an advantage, becomes a constraint. It cannot easily adapt to new prey types. It cannot rapidly change its behavior to match unfamiliar threats. Its genetic diversity, already limited by isolation, restricts its capacity for rapid evolutionary response. The very traits that made it successful within its original environment now limit its ability to survive outside it, and this is where the psychological punch lands. All of these animals, the giants, the mini-killers, the perfectly tuned specialists, were never designed to compete in a dynamic, unpredictable world. They were shaped in isolation, within systems that rewarded precision over flexibility, efficiency over redundancy. They are not universal champions. They are context-specific solutions. The moment that context changes, their advantages disappear. The island does not produce invincible predators. It produces organisms that are exquisitely adapted to a single set of conditions and profoundly vulnerable to anything outside it. In that sense, the island is not just an ecosystem. It is a controlled environment, a biological enclosure where evolution experiments with extremes, but rarely prepares for disruption. And that leads to the question that reframes everything that came before. If a predator dominates only within the boundaries of a closed system, if its power depends entirely on conditions that cannot change, then what exactly does apex mean? Is it a measure of absolute strength? Or is it simply a temporary title granted by a system that has not yet been tested?